the values, principles and standards of participatory budgeting that we have developed in the UK. Something that's become very apparent to me, which I was aware of, but I didn't realise how important it might be, only came to me this morning, is that the models of participatory budgeting in the UK and particularly in Germany are very different. In fact, on the presentation on the diagram that Carsten Herzberg and Anja Rocker were talking about this morning, the models for England are over here and the models for Germany are over here. They're diametrically opposed. So I think you have to, PB has to be adapted to what's needed locally, what the aims and the aspirations are for it locally. And so our values, principles and standards represent what we believe to be important for PB in the UK and might not necessarily always translate to what's happening elsewhere. I did bring a few documents. I couldn't bring many because they're heavy. A few documents which we've just produced, which elaborate on the values, principles and standards, and are really a guide for practitioners about how to embed them within their PB processes. So if you want a copy, take one whilst they're still there, or alternatively you can download it off our website, which I'll put up at the end of the presentation. Okay, so I'll just try and, I'll go through this as quickly as possible. So yes, first PB started around about 2006 in the UK, and we had about 5 pilots. We've now got around about 80 or so initiatives. It's very hard for us to count and be certain of the number because we rely on people telling us that they're doing it, and they don't always tell us. We're still relatively small amounts of money compared to the actual budget that a municipal government will have. This is partly to do with the high degree of centralisation that we have in the government in the UK. But it is heavily supported by national government. We've got national policy strategy, and it's also included in policing white papers and policing strategies as well. And we have about 4, maybe 5 models now emerging. These are some of the differences from other European models. It's non-party political. We have municipal governments of all parties implementing PB, and it's not seen as a political tool. It's seen instead as an empowerment tool, and that's why we're on the opposite end from Germany. We're less concerned with modernisation, service modernisation, than we are about empowering communities and empowering citizens. We have a high degree of centralised control within our government system, and not all the services are controlled by the municipal government, so it's hard to do PB on the entire budget when it's not controlled by one particular organisation. PB unit, Participatory Budgeting Unit, we are a national organisation, we are a charity project, but we are primarily funded by central government to promote and support the implementation of PB within the UK, so our role is primarily advocacy. We work nationally, and we've now got some projects emerging in Wales, Scotland, and some interest now in Northern Ireland, as well as obviously in England. And we have just, as I explained, developed the values, principles and standards for our practitioners. The purpose of the values is to encourage projects to create excellent PB practices and to provide real long-term outcomes, not just to be focused on the short term. Because PB is one of a suite of empowerment tools, in fact, Professor Barsh was talking about one of them. Another one is the panel process would be another empowerment tool, and we would differentiate between the two of them. So it's one of many, and in order for PB to stand out as being different from some of the other tools and also how they fit within the tools, we felt it important that value should be attached to it. And the government supports PB, which is a good thing because there is national direction for it, policy direction. But with that, there are a number of municipal governments that might be encouraged to implement PB simply because government says so, not because they actually want to deliver the outcomes. So by assigning values to PB, we help to ensure that it's not simply what we call a tick box exercise to try and get brownie points from central government. The National Reference Group, which is a national group set up to kind of direct national policy for PB in the UK, decided that we needed values. So we worked with a group of practitioners and some other experts to develop the framework and the parameters for the values and to set some of those values. All of the values are set within community development values, so they've all come out of that, and that's the basis for it because the main outcome for PB is empowerment. And we've published the first document on the values, which simply just set them out in 2008, and now we've developed this one which elaborates more and provides more of a grounding for the values for practitioners to be able to identify how they fit within their processes. I'm going to run through this quickly. We've got 9 values. Transparency, which I think is clear enough. Accessibility, both in terms of physical accessibility and also in terms of it being open to all. Deliberation, because empowerment is a key outcome, it's important that the community deliberate and come to collective decisions, even if they vote individually. Empowerment, again, fairly obvious. Local ownership. So we want to try and make more processes grassroots level up, not just top down, which is what primarily most of the processes in England are currently top down, decided by the municipal government that this is what they're going to do and then imposed upon their citizens, rather than citizens saying we want this and let's make it happen. Mainstream involvement. We also do have an aspiration to move towards service improvement and service realignment towards local needs. The end goal still being empowerment, but we want to use larger budgets, more focused on services rather than small budgets focused on community projects. Support representative democracy, very important that we bring our representatives, our elected representatives, along with the process, that they're involved and that they benefit from it as well. And shared responsibility. It's not just the responsibility of the government, it's not just the responsibility of the elected representatives or the citizens, it's everybody's responsibility. So yeah, that's the new document. I think I kind of explained it overall. We have a number of tables which go from minimum standards of what would be the minimum that you would implement in order to illustrate the value in your process, to what would be considered excellent practice, and if projects choose, they can work their way through the table. We also have case studies from actual examples that have happened in the UK which illustrate that particular value, and so it's more tangible for practitioners to understand how it can be, how they can do it in their area, how they can implement the values in their area. And I've come to the end, and that's our website, so if you want to download it, that's the website. If you've got questions after today, email us and we'll be happy to respond. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, now, ja, jetzt geht es mit der nächsten Murmelphase weiter. Also auch hier eben kurz der Austausch, auch wenn nochmal was unverständlich geblieben ist, fragen Sie Ihre Nachbarinnen, Ihren Nachbarn. Und dann gehen noch mal die Fragen an unsere Referentin.